talk about Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is not happy with the Houston Texans organization. As I speak today, it's reports that Deshaun Watson is frustrated about how the season went this past year. He obviously is probably still frustrated about the DeAndre Hopkins trade, which should have never happened. That was one of the worst trades I've ever seen in NFL history. And the Houston Texans organization said to Deshaun Watson directly that they would involve him in personnel decisions and he would get a say in their next head coach. And ultimately, the Houston Texans have not held up their end of the bargain. So it's pretty clear right now today, you can make the argument the Houston Texans flaked on Deshaun Watson. They broke that promise. And look, if I'm a quarterback, I don't necessarily ask to be involved in all personnel decisions. But when you tell me you're going to involve me in the personnel decisions, when you tell me I'm going to have a say in the next head coach, and then you don't listen to my request and you don't involve me, that's a problem. So, look, I've got no problem with Deshaun Watson now wanting out of Houston. There are reports that Deshaun Watson might be potentially requesting a trade. There's been some whispers about that. And look, my biggest takeaway from all this mess with the with the Houston Texans is this. The mess with the Houston Texans, my takeaway is this. Don't blame Deshaun Watson for requesting a trade if those reports are true. Don't blame Deshaun Watson for wanting out of Houston. People can say, oh, Deshaun Watson, he's a bad teammate. He's a bad leader because of this. Time out, folks. Just stop the foolery, please. Great leaders don't tolerate mediocrity. Great leaders speak up when they know they must speak up. Great leaders will call people out when they need to be called out. And this is Deshaun Watson's signal to the Houston Texans that, hey, I'm calling y'all out. What y'all are doing is not good enough. I'm doing my part. You guys need to do your part. And ultimately, Deshaun is doing his part. He's doing everything he can to help the Houston Texans become a solid football team. He's doing everything in his power to try to win games. Meanwhile, you got guys like Carson Wentz with a bad roster around him, just falling apart, being a bad teammate, being a bad leader, wanting out, not holding his end of the bargain on the field, getting benched for Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts outperformed him. Meanwhile, Deshaun Watson, he played like a league MVP this year, okay? Deshaun Watson is doing his part. And before I get into what Deshaun Watson brings to the table, I want to ask you all a question. Which side needs each other more? Does Deshaun Watson need the Houston Texans more than Houston needs him? I think that Houston needs Deshaun Watson more than Deshaun Watson needs the Houston Texans, because if the Houston Texans were to kick Deshaun Watson to the curb today, you mean to tell me the Miami Dolphins would not do everything in their power to make Deshaun Watson happy? You mean to tell me a team like the Denver Broncos wouldn't go all out to get Deshaun Watson? You mean to tell me a team like the Washington football team would not go all out to get Deshaun Watson? You mean to tell me a team in their division like the Indianapolis Colts would not do all in their power to get Deshaun Watson on the roster? I could go on and on. The bottom line is there's going to be 10 to 12 teams that would give Deshaun Watson a big-time offer today if he was released by the Houston Texans. Who wants to go quarterback for the Houston Texans right now? Because if I'm a quarterback, I want no parts of that organization. I want no parts of that roster, okay? And by the way, Deshaun Watson, he's done everything in his power to make the Houston Texans relevant, and they failed the guy, okay? We could talk about the Houston Texans having the 13th ranked offense this past year led by Deshaun Watson, but guess what? The New Orleans Saints had the 12th ranked offense. The Cleveland Browns had the 16th ranked offense. The Seattle Seahawks had the 17th ranked offense. Do you know what all those teams have in common? They all made the playoffs. So to say that Deshaun Watson leading the 12th ranked offense is not good enough is fool's gold. Because Cleveland, they're not a better ranked offense than Houston this year. Seattle, they're not better ranked than Houston. And New Orleans, they're right there with Houston. And Houston just won 4 games. New Orleans won 12. Deshaun Watson completed 70% of his throws, threw for 4,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and had a 112.4 passer rating this past season for the Houston Texans. He's doing everything in his power to help this team win games. Meanwhile, what have the Houston Texans given Deshaun Watson? Deshaun Watson was given the 27th ranked defense as far as points per game are allowed this season. He was given the 30th ranked total defense this year. The Houston Texans have the 31st ranked rushing attack on offense. And keep in mind, Deshaun Watson can run the football. If Deshaun Watson was not able to use his legs to get first downs, the Houston Texans might very well have had the worst rushing attack in all football. They traded DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson. The Houston Texans organization, Deshaun Watson, was the 3rd most sacked quarterback in the NFL this past year. And not to mention, the Houston Texans still do not have a head coach, and they still don't have a general manager. And we could say, oh, Deshaun Watson got paid a ton of money. He should be held accountable. And yes, Deshaun Watson should be held accountable, but guess what? He held up his end of the salary. He held his end of the bargain. He put together an MVP caliber season. Just go watch him play. Watch Houston Texans games. And if you watch a Houston Texans game this year, at any point, if you watch 4, 5, 6 Texans games this year, and your takeaway is Deshaun Watson's the problem, I can't help you, okay? And look, this idea that quarterbacks should be like Tom Brady and take less money is bullcrap. It's bullcrap because, for one, the minute Tom Brady was able to get a big-time contract, the first time he was able to become the highest-paid player in the NFL, he took that opportunity. So this idea Tom Brady's been taking pay cuts for his entire career is false, for one. Second of all, Russell Wilson got paid a ton of money. Aaron Rodgers got paid a ton of money. They're in the playoffs. Their organizations have figured out ways to build around them. Houston, that's on you. Jared Goff got paid as well. He got paid a crap ton of money. The Los Angeles Rams don't seem to be having trouble drafting players, building a good team around Jared Goff. When you know you have to pay a quarterback a ton of money, that's when you start drafting a bunch of defensive players. That's when you start paying guys early. That's when you lock these guys up early and plan for the future, because when you drafted Deshaun Watson and you saw what he could do his rookie year, you knew you were going to pay him. So I'm not trying to hear this bull jive or this BS about, oh, the Houston Texans, they deserve better from Deshaun Watson. No. Deshaun Watson deserves to be with a better organization, and you should not blame Deshaun Watson for wanting out of Houston for all the reasons that I mentioned. No doubt about it. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juiciest Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juiciest Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.